northern pole star doesn't exist thing. Yeah, so it's I mean the explanation they give, it's kind of ad hoc with this dome thing, but like the thing is, I can say
Can I just ask, who is they?
Well, just this video that I saw that they just posted.
Yeah,
on the
one
thing,
thing
but,
I would say, one thing I would say is that you're in a room here talking to flat earthers. Address us.
Okay, sure.
Ask questions, like, because we get strawmanned all the time. There's all these stupid debunks of people misrepresenting us. It gets really old, and I feel like you're mature enough to understand that. So,
sure.
just have a conversation with us and not with the video that you've.
Yeah. So the basic idea is that if you look at how the stars rotate in the sky, there's not really any way to reconcile that with a flat Earth without some extremely ad hoc assumptions. Because the idea is that, like, when you're in the southern hemisphere, the stars do all rotate in a they all rotate. I'm going to muck that up, clockwise. And like you can see, the Southern Cross goes around in a circle. And as you go, and you can see that the center of that circle is, the southern celestial pole, which is Sigma Octantis. And as you go further north, that goes further down, and, they rotate around sort of effectively a smaller circle until you're on the equator, and you can see both the northern pole star and the southern pole star at the same time, because if you're going further north, you're changing the angle that you're viewing the sky at, because that's what would happen if the Earth is round. As you go further north from that, the southern pole star effectively goes below the ground, and the northern pole star gets higher and higher, Polaris, and you can see that stuff's rotating around the northern pole star, and that's all what you'd expect. And it's kind of like how do you get everything appearing to rotate? I mean, if it's all the same axis.
I called it. Oh, sorry. I apologize. Are you seeing stuff that goes along the lines of as you would expect to see on a globe? Because that's what I heard. You're supposed to make the observation first and then do the math, but it sounds like you're doing it the opposite way.
That's not a thing. You can.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Was that a
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah. So what you can do, you can make a theory. You can theorize, and then you can check if you.
Did you just beg the question that the Earth is a globe?
No, I'm saying if the Earth is a globe, this is what you'd expect to see, and it is.
Yeah, so that's affirming the consequence then, right? If the Earth is a globe, then you have southern stars. So the Earth is a globe. Yeah, it is.
That's crazy.
Not really.
So
okay.
when it is. So when did you measure curvature to validate we have 8 inches per mile squared curvature drop?
I mean, I did this by looking at how the stars rotate.
Yeah. So when I have my carpenter come around and I tell him, yo, I want some new fresh carpets, and he looks at the ceiling, what do you expect me to say to him?
Are you high?
You do not change your view of the ceiling because you're on a flat carpet. If the carpet was curved, you would see. If it was significantly curved, you would have a different view of the ceiling depending on where you're standing on the carpet, and it would be a good way to measure the curvature of the carpet.
So again, affirming the consequence, right? So when did you measure the surface of the Earth to provide validation of curvature?
Okay.
This would be the scientific method, is what he's referring to. Ideally.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that I do not.
No, it's just science. Measurements is in science,
guys,
right?
Yeah.
So one thing to keep in mind is that in like actual scientific research, the way the scientific method works is a lot looser than what.
Yeah, that's pseudoscience.
Something.
Right?
Yeah, that's pseudoscience.
Well, not.
Yeah,
okay,
that's pseudoscience.
Yeah, it's called scientism. Well, it's theoretical science. So you got to come to reality with us, man. If we can have a conversation about it. You know?
How many years have you spent studying the sky? I'm just curious.
Stint on, I don't know, like depends on when you count, if you count like undergrad and stuff like that. But like let's count about 12, 13.
13 years looking up in the sky and making up stories and believing those stories, possibly. So we're
It's
asking you
happened
to
to all of us.
All right. So what I see here is some pretty weak rationalizations against the evidence. Because like I gave you an argument, you have not addressed the argument. You have addressed the nature of the argument. And you see the issue there is that like what you need, like in a on a flat Earth.
You beg
I'll
the
give you two
question.
hypotheses.
You beg the question that the Earth is a globe, thus we have southern rotations, southern stars, right?
Let me give you two different
That's what
hypotheses.
you did.
If the Earth is flat, if the Earth is flat,
not if it is measurable like that, flat.
Okay,
measurable.
I'll give you two hypotheses. One is the Earth is round. One is the Earth is flat.
We don't need hypotheses. We have
Oh,
lasers over lakes, over oceans.
Okay. Okay, guys. Let's let him finish a sentence. But also, I'd like to address that.
Go ahead.
So do you want to finish your point, and then we can go on.
Yeah. So you have two hypotheses. Like if the Earth is flat, then geometrically you would expect that the stars should be, things like the pole star should be visible from everywhere on the Earth, unless you have some sort of ad hoc warping or something like that going on. If the Earth is round, you expect to see exactly what we see in terms of the stars without any ad hoc things.
Okay,
so you see the North Star, the pole star. Yeah.
Okay, do you understand that already philosophically there's a problem with that? Because I could say, if the Earth was flat, you would expect to see exactly what you see, and if the Earth was round, blah, 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 right? You understand that you're already assuming the conclusion that you like in the hypothesis.
Okay, let me rephrase it. Why would you expect the North Star to be invisible in the southern hemisphere if the Earth is flat?
Well, a number of possible reasons.
Because light does not
I could make up
forever.
10 off the top of my head, and some of them would be bullshit, and some of them would be legitimate. But regardless,
But again, that is without ad hoc assumptions.
No, you're the one making the ad hoc assumption. That's what I'm pointing out. I'm just saying I can do it too, if you want.
Goes both ways, that's fair.
We can all make up sky stories. It doesn't prove them. We can't prove the sky.
Yes, I mean...
I'll shut up.
I mean, this is essentially just... I mean, at this point, you're saying that geometry is an ad hoc assumption that needs to be proved.
No, it's not.
So, okay, so the first thing is...
It must be established by measurement, though, right? You understand that? You agree with that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's essentially how we got general relativity, is that, some of the Euclidean assumptions turn out to not be true. Yeah.
No, I mean, how was the curvature measured?
How would you measure the curvature? You would find a distant point and see what angle the ground is relative to that distant point, which is called a star.
So
you measure the distance to that star using parallax.
No.
So, because you can see as the stars go in little circles in the sky, because the Earth is going around the sun.
I know that they move. The star
in little circles. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I lost you.
Stars do appear to move, but you assume a parallax. Have you heard of? Sorry.
I lost you for a second. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. As an astrophysicist, you must have heard of Olbers paradox, right?
Yeah. So that is the assumption that if the universe... the Olbers paradox is if the universe is infinitely old and infinitely large, then you expect the entire sky to be full of stars. We do not believe that the universe is infinitely old, and because Yeah, well, that's essentially it.
I don't believe that Olber actually included the infinite age as part of his paradox.
You need that because of the finite speed of light.
No, I don't think that you've got that right. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, no, because the idea is that if you have an infinitely large universe and it's been around for ages, forever.
You're just repeating the same thing I disagree with.
Okay, I mean, again, this is geometry. This is how it works.
No, Olber's paradox is not geometry.
Well, kind of it. It's to do with
it's philosophy,
geometry and the definition of surface brightness and stuff.
No, it's like I don't understand how you can misunderstand, like how you can know about Olber's paradox but not understand the point. So
is it possible? I mean, this is Olber's paradox. This is what Olber's paradox is, right? I mean, this is it's the universe is not static and infinite. That is the conclusion. This is not.
And you measure this how? And you measure this how?
How do you work out the universe is not infinite? So
not work it out. Establish it.
Establish it.
I feel like we're doing this dance where you're trying to calculate everything, right? But it's all based off of assumption. None of it's established.
He hasn't discovered that he may have been misled or lied to at some point. He's struggling, man.
No, I mean, we'll put it this way. These are the same principles we use to determine the electronics that make your phone work.
No,
we're just using it.
That's just a lie. No, electronics is put together via, not cause and effect, fuck's sake, trial and error. That's how it's... So that's got nothing to do with whether the Earth's a ball.
I mean, it's the same. It's the same principles of like if you're trying to invent things about light bending.
Does this metal conduct electricity? Yes, therefore the Earth's a ball. That doesn't make any sense.
No, I mean, but the thing is that I have a feeling that when people do direct experiments of like, literally going into space and taking a photo and having a satellite that takes multiple photos per day of the Earth, you are probably going to say they just don't believe it. And that's a very
verifiable. They're not verifiable.
Well, I mean,
right.
Neither is a photo of Bigfoot. So, I mean, you'd have to say that if all photos are evidence of reality, then you have to believe in Bigfoot because there's a photo of Bigfoot.
Well, no, I mean,
unicorns images, not photos.
Yeah, I mean, there is a difference. There is a difference between, look, if there was a large body of independently of lots of different photos of an animal taken from different animals with different things and different circumstances from different people throughout various different points of time, combined with a large body of other evidence, then yeah.
I would make this argument to you, and I don't think you can refute it. More independent people have taken photos and presented them of the Loch Ness Monster than independent agencies have taken photos of the Earth.
Yeah.
Independent agencies. I mean, like, there's a different thing there.
Governmental agencies.
That's true, though, isn't it? So, using your argument, you would have to say that the Loch Ness Monster is more true than NASA, JAXA, and all the rest.
No, because as I said, it's combined with...
I'm using your logic, and then the second I throw it back, you're like, nah.
Well, no. What I said is if there was plenty of photos, plenty of different photos combined with the forms of evidence as well, and that would be this is a reasonable way that you would find any sort of animal, right? Like there are plenty of animals in the world that I've never seen myself, but I believe that red pandas exist.
Okay, that's nice for you. You can believe red pandas exist. But if you want to start telling me that red pandas definitely exist, then I'm going to ask for evidence. Do you see how that's the difference? So if you want to believe that the Earth's a globe, all good. You can believe whatever you want. I'm not going to stop you believing whatever you want. But if you're telling me that the Earth is objectively a globe, I want to see some evidence.
Well, the problem is that if that kind of radical skepticism, like at some point, like
we are radicalists.
I don't.
Radical.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, because by that definition, I don't have very good evidence that, say, New Mexico exists.
Okay, but you can believe it exists if you want.
Okay. I don't think
go
that
there.
is an appropriate way to measure, to try to determine truth in the world, because I think that kind of extreme skepticism.
Well,
It's not
astrophysics
extreme.
is
It's not
definitely
extreme
not.
just because you say it's extreme. Again, you're kind of making you're making assertions to dismiss my legitimate criticisms of your points.
Can you buy a plane ticket to New Mexico? Can you buy a plane ticket to space? Which one of these two things can you verify?
Ooh.
Well, you can buy a plane ticket to the edge of space, to about 100 kilometers or so.
No, you cannot.
Dream on.
You can get up to about there is space tourism where you can take like a space plane up to 100 kilometers over the atmosphere.
Who does this? Tourism.
Cool story.
Space tourism was planned for 2020. Hotels in space. Now it's delayed to 2024 because of this pandemic. It's 2025. They keep delaying it. They're gonna delay it with another 5 years.
But
From
who
the
does this
70s,
space?
they keep saying that in the next 5 years we will have space tourism.
Yeah, we're not going to have like actual hotels in space anytime soon.
Sounds like to me there's some information that needs to be absorbed by this new person. I don't know. I think there's too many questions and not enough investigation.
Yeah. For example, if you're a scientist, explain to us how can you have a vacuum next to a pressure atmosphere?
Oh, it's just I mean that's fine. It's just gravity balanced against pressure. You just need some sort of balance.
Demonstration in real world, like.
So what you want is a demonstration of gas in a vacuum without gravity, but doing it on Earth where there is gravity. Is that the possible criteria you're asking for?
Sorry to interrupt.
That's your problem,
guys.
That's your problem.
We have a suggestion from the live stream voice text. Sorry to interrupt, by the way. For crypto to implement the 3 points. That sounds like fun.
Okay.
I feel like I've already done it, but yeah, we can do.
Yeah, I feel like we did cover most of those points.
Well,
okay,
we've certainly covered the curvature of the Earth.
So he understands that he believes things that he was told.
Well, I say the curvature of the Earth you can demonstrate by looking at distant stars and seeing how they move in different points on the Earth.
Okay, so you can't measure the curve. Okay, got it. What about the actual rotation?
Extra rotation. Again, we have distant points to go to look at as a basis
of the Earth, not of the stars.
Well, this. I mean, without. Okay, you can put on ad hoc layers of epicycles if you really don't want the Earth to be rotating.
No, I want to demonstrate that the thing that's moving is the thing that's moving, and that it can only be that.
The Earth? You can do that if you... technically, if you got very precise scales on the equator and on the North Pole, you could do that. I haven't done that.
How? How?
I don't think anyone has.
Oh, because of centrifugal force.
Yeah, if that was the case, then you would weigh more in close to the pole than the equator. And
it would be a very small effect. You can work out what it would be, because if the diameter of the Earth...
Has this been demonstrated to actually occur, though? Because that's what really matters.
I guess. I haven't had a...
Okay.
you could look that up yourself. I guess I haven't actually looked into it.
I know that it's never been demonstrated. That's why I asked you that question.
Okay.
So the problem is that you've got a lot of really nice ideas, and I agree that the ideas themselves seem plausible. But the problem is that when you actually look at the evidence for them, there's no demonstration for any of it. So when we were talking about gas pressure next to a container, which is the third point on the 3 points, you're saying, oh, well, you can't surely expect me to demonstrate this on Earth, can you? Well, the problem is that if you can't demonstrate it, there's no reason to believe it. You must admit that that's logical.
No, I think that
You
that
don't
is.
think
It's
that,
like
okay. So if
well,
I
what you're
say
saying
that
is
there are mini unicorns in my cabinet, and I can't demonstrate it, but it's just true because I say so, you think that's logical?
no, because we have from experience and our general knowledge of cabinets, I don't need to look at your cabinet to be pretty sure that there's probably not real mini unicorns in there, unless you're talking about little plastic toys. I think that's the most. I have a reasonable assumption place to be coming from. And again, like, I haven't looked in your cabinet, I haven't demonstrated to you that there isn't any, but I think its best assumption is that there aren't.
I
by your logic, you don't prove it.
No,
You
I
haven't
agree with
proven
you
that
on
there aren't.
No, I agree with you on that. It's reasonable
by
to assume that
your
if you haven't
logic,
experienced it, if you haven't... No, hold on. No,
no. By your logic, you have no reason.
No, I've already agreed with you. There's no my logic because I've agreed with your logic. So don't assert that I've got different logic. I've already agreed with this logic, yeah? So the point I'm going to now make is with... Sorry, 1 second. What's going on here? Yeah. So the point I was trying to make is that, yes, when you talk about experience and verification, I've never experienced the Earth to be anything other than flat and stationary. So it's very, very reasonable to assume that it's flat and stationary. What it is unreasonable to assume is that it's moving at 1.3 million miles an hour and that it curves with no evidence.
Yeah, so I would say those are two different things. I think that proving that the Earth goes around the sun is indeed actually quite difficult. I think that involves fairly technical things, and you have to look into looking at the orbits of other things in the solar system and determine whether epicycles are there or not. Proving that the Earth is round really is just geometry.
Yes,
yeah, it's assumption. Yeah, sorry.
Right. Yeah, shows those measurements, right? Where can we find curvature drop over distance?
Well, I think people have done that, and they did find it. I mean, like,
so what do you think the horizon is?
That.
So what do you think the horizon is?
The horizon, I mean, the horizon is the tangent from your eye line to the surface of the Earth.
Okay, so it's a physical leading edge of a sphere, right? Where boats and buildings get blocked by, right? It's a physical spot, right?
I mean, you could think of it as physical if you want, but it's like relative to your location ball, right? And your height and stuff like that.
It's physicality, right? It's a ball, right? So it's necessary to have this leading sphere edge. Okay. So do you know where this should be at 1 foot height?
At 1 foot, it would be quite low, I think.
How far?
I see about. I can't remember the formula. If I haven't got the factor too wrong, the formula about 1.4.
Let me help you. Right, 1.2
it's about
to
a mile.
5 miles. 1.2 to 5 miles.
I thought it was less than that.
1.225 miles.
1.225 miles.
Okay. So
that's close to what I figured. I got.
Yeah. So let me get your attention to the live stream text. Are you there?
Yeah.
So there's a modus tollens at the top of the picture, right? Do you understand what it's saying?
Which picture is this one in the chat?
It's my
one with the oil rigs.
Yeah. So the thing is, I can't. Yeah. The oil rigs. Yeah. I've seen stuff like that before. So
stuff like that, right? Stuff like that falsifies the radius, right? It cannot be a ball with a radius of 3959 if the horizon is 10 times further than the ball dictates, right? It cannot be a ball.
So you have so the thing is, like, you can also find like other pictures of things dropping below the horizon. Like the thing about that, like you can I'm not going to be able to debunk a single picture.
It's not a single picture. We have hundreds, maybe thousands. I mean, it's laser tests, right? Laser tests, 40 kilometers.
Yeah, and there's been plenty of people doing. Yeah,
So it cannot be a ball if the horizon isn't that physical.
I do not believe that these laser tests have been done correctly.
Right? Sorry?
I do not believe those laser tests have been done
Yes,
correctly.
people have done it. Flat earthers, they have done it, but
have you done it by your evidence?
No, listen.
Look,
they are not governmental institution. You know,
not a government. Yeah, well, the thing. Okay, so that's the thing is
their word is not been exposed in the media, in mainstream media, because it doesn't fit the governmental narrative.
Yeah, so that's the issue, is that, like, if you're going to accuse anyone who provides, if people provide the evidence and you declare them lying, then of course you're going to end up believing whatever you choose to believe.
Well, wait a minute. You just did this kind of the same thing. You didn't even look at any of the evidence presented to you, and you said they probably didn't do it right. Why don't you
I mean, that's because, like,
evidence first.
But I mean, this is the thing, is that, like, I mean,
good point, Lulu.
I mean, you got to understand that, like, the geometry argument I gave at the beginning, if you don't accept that, then you do not know how to do science.
Wait.
You don't know how
doing science.
Hold on.
That's not even science if you're correct. Right. Seriously, you're an astrophysicist, a PhD allegedly.
Yeah. So maybe you should listen to me when I say that.
I don't believe you then. I think you're lying.
Yeah, okay. So this is what I kind of...
Fine. What does PhD actually stand for?
Well, it's kind of backwards. It's like a Doctor of Philosophy, but it's PhD. Or which is why it's a
So I would expect you to have a solid grounding in philosophy to have a doctorate.
No, that's not how it works.
No, that is how it works, because science comes from philosophy.
Well, kind of, but it's kind of its own thing. Like, you don't actually need to learn
objectively
philosophy
comes
to do
from philosophy.
science.
Right,
I mean,
objectively comes from philosophy.
In a historical sense, sure.
Yeah.
But not in terms of you need to learn philosophy in order to do science.
No, but it certainly fucking helps to know what science is, and when you're stepping out of science and into philosophy.
Can he provide one scientific hypothesis in astrophysics, please? We'll wait. Yep. One viable scientific hypothesis. Thank you.
Sorry?
One hypothesis in astrophysics.
Guys, the problem.
One hypothesis in the history of the astrophysics, please.
Sorry, I didn't catch those last couple of things.
Do you have any hypothesis in astrophysics?
We need a viable scientific hypothesis in the field of astrophysics, please. Thank you.
They're wanting an example for your faulty credentials because you sound
of a hypothesis. Okay, I mean, something I'm working on right now is we're trying to work out if supermassive black holes in the center of galaxies are commonly in binaries or not.
So we're going to do science on black holes. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
I'll shut up.
Okay, what's your IV?
Sorry?
What's your IV?
Independent variable.
Independent variable. I mean...
Yeah, which one is it?
Okay, so again...
I mean, that's science, man. You know? I mean, that's science.
Don't give him the answers. He's already drowning by himself.
Okay, here is how science actually works.
No. We know how it works.
Yeah. Science works by getting the answer that you want by presupposing. And if it doesn't get the answer that you presuppose, then it's not science.
Well, I mean, that's not really what it is. So what science really is essentially a lot more
science
of an ad hoc collection.
Guys, let him explain what science is.
Yeah.
Let him explain.
Yeah, I mean, like in like practice, I mean, it's not really like a bunch of strict philosophical commands that you have to follow. It's really more of a collection of values about trying to. No, it's a bunch of values about trying your best to find the truth, and that's based on various things that you found in experience. So, like, it's about
but how
trying
do
to
you
do
establish that
things from
truth?
different.
Like, how do you establish that truth if you're not manipulating and showing how that manipulation has caused said effect? Like, all you're doing then is you're saying that science is correlation.
Well, no, I mean, like, correlation is part of it. I mean, that's actually a very useful thing to do, but you have to do that within some sort of...
It's not science, though. That's statistics.
Well, statistics is part. It's something you do in science. Yeah.
No, statistics is not science.
Man,
you have to use it.
Guy has had more an opportunity to prove himself, and he's already been nominated for Numpty Clips, so what's happening here?
So when you're trying to find out if a black hole is binary or not, do you go around asking people's opinion on it, and if more people think it's binary, then it must be binary?
No, we use telescopes.
All right, let's ask this question, right? So you say that correlation is a part of science. Okay, so every single morning when I wake up, I make myself a cup of tea, right? And then the next morning, the sun rises. And so I can correlate cups of tea with sunrise.
Yes, because the sun rises, that makes you get up and then you have tea.
No, I can correlate them very directly. I can say, well, every time the sun rises, a cup of tea is made. Yeah? So does the sunrise cause the tea?
Somewhat, yes. Because the sunrise causes you to wake up, because
you cannot drink the tea at night.
No, like in that particular
sunrise
case,
does not cause cups of tea, dude. You know that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, it indirectly kind of does, because you're seeing a real effect.
What am I hearing?
Oh my
God, bro! Like, are you this much in denial? Come on.
I mean, it is an effect. The sun rises. The rising of the sun, the diurnal rhythm.
You understand what you're trying to make?
I'm the cause of the tea. I made the tea. This is obvious.
Why do you make tea at that time?
Because I
like. You get up at that time.
Wants to.
Well, but I could make tea at 3 a.m.
Because he's alive and he
I could make it
it
at 6:30 after my dinner. I can make tea at any time.
Yeah, because there are other things that cause you to have tea, but in this particular case, there is.
You don't ask a man why he's making a tea, because the man he's alive and he can make the tea. But your astrophysics does not make any tea. Cannot explain the tea.
Would you like another example? Are you understanding the actual point he's trying to make without trying to just not concede the point?
Yeah, but what I was really getting at is, like, a correlation in itself is not a proof of something, but correlation as part of a theoretical framework is actually a piece of evidence you can use. But you don't just like use a correlation and jump to a conclusion. But a correlation is something that you can use.
But that is what you're doing. So I guess this is why the scientific method is so strict, because it stops people from jumping to these weird conclusions based on correlation. That is the point of the scientific method. And in fact, you must know who Richard Feynman is, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of got a bad reputation for womanizing and other stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's got nothing to do with his science. Like, so he said that it doesn't matter how intelligent you are, it doesn't matter how beautiful your theory is, if it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. Do you agree with this?
Sure.
Okay, so where's the experiment that proves that the sun rising makes cups of tea?
I mean, okay, are you expecting to just turn off the sun? I mean...
No, I'm expecting the sun to rise regardless of whether I make a cup of tea, and I'm expecting to be able to make a cup of tea regardless of whether the sun rises.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't be they would be completely uncorrelated.
But if I make it every morning, they're correlated, even though they're clearly not related.
Because, well, they're slightly related, because the sun sets a diurnal rhythm, and you're making tea on a diurnal rhythm.
But then you're
Well,
introducing like several other layers, right? So you're saying that the sun really causes the person to have, kind of chemicals released in their body, which makes the desire for this particular cup of tea desirable at this point in time. Yeah. Now you're no longer dealing with, objective science. Now you're introducing like soft sciences, like psychology and all these kind of things. So it would be ultimately debunked by the scientific method easily. And
I don't like.
That's just a fact.
I think there are.
It doesn't really matter if you like it or not, because that's the reality of the situation.
I mean, there are sort of like things like this that actually happen. Like, I mean, there's things like, during like the NHL playoffs in Canada, that there's like huge increases in water usage at certain times of day, at certain times, and that's because in the breaks between periods, everyone's going to flush the loo.
Well, is it because, or is that's the theory, right? That's the theory behind
you
it.
could verify
and now
that.
you're in the realm of social sciences and soft sciences.
But no, but the thing is, you can verify that. You could actually go to the fans of NHL people and see if they go to the loo at half time. That's verifiable. Well, sorry, it's thirds, isn't it, in NHL's 3?
Yeah, I think they have 3 periods there, yeah. Yeah.
But that's verifiable. So if you were to say, I think that people go for a dump after the second, third, or whatever, you can go to people's houses and verify it. I don't know why you'd want to, but you could do it.
Yes, but you can see that initial correlation is something that gives you a clue of something that you want to look in further.
Well, the correlation can also give you completely a wrong clue, right? Correlation can send you completely down the wrong
sometimes
path.
Sometimes correlations can be spurious. Just because something is useful doesn't mean that it's 100% perfect determiner, but it is a useful thing for you to start from.
Well, I don't know if you should start there. I think that would go against the idea of the scientific method, right? You should have a hypothesis that can be based on correlations, observations, all kinds of things, right? Then that's the entire scientific method, is that you can construct your hypothesis, i.e. your model, based on whatever kind of data that you want. But then the experiment is there to actually, this is what the real scientific method is about. You're really seeking to destroy your own hypothesis. That's the goal of the scientific method. That would be deemed a success, because that means that you've now acquired new, objectively provable knowledge. Right?
Yeah.
So the scientific method is not there to verify our preconceptions or our hypotheses.
Yes, but you can, if you come up with a hypothesis.
Do you think airplane pilots give their airplanes to the airport staff, and he tells them where his next flight will be, and these people will load the airplane with fuel and everything, so they make sure he's got enough fuel to reach that distance?
Sure.
Yeah, you understand this, right? It's a very important problem, Correct?
Okay.
Yeah. When they went to the moon, how did they know the distance they have to travel? How did they?
You don't need to know distance, because it's before. I mean, the thing about going to the, I mean, like, you can.
Yeah.
How do you measure the distance to the moon in high accuracy?
They had lasers.
Yeah, I mean, you can use lasers and radar and stuff, but now they have the mirror set up that you can. Now they have the mirror set up there that they bounce lasers off.
Now, yeah, but what about back in the 60s?
One photon bounces back from the moon.
I imagine it's. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
The exact quantities they use there.
So
how strong the lasers are.
How does this prove that the Earth is a globe? You need curvature drop over distance, right? 1.225 miles. That was the geometry I told you, right?
Yeah.
And the ball needs that geometry to make it a ball, but it's not there, right? Lasers, long distance observations, the Guinness World Record, Book of World Records, long distance photograph is 274 miles.
Yeah, because if you've got two high points, then you can take a photo from between them pretty directly.
If it's a ball, if it's a ball, there should be curvature, and there you cannot see the mountains, right? So.
No, across 274 miles, if you're measuring curvature, if you're at sea level, that'd be almost 10 miles of curvature in front of you. Now, if you're at 9,800 feet, which is what the photographs are taken at, there would still be 3 miles of curvature. Now, there are no 3-mile high mountains there, but you can see all the mountains in the distance, top to bottom.
I mean, I haven't looked at that particular thing.
Okay. Well, don't answer if you haven't looked. Thanks.
Okay, I think that's probably as much as we're going to get. I don't think we're going to get any really further right now.
Why is that? We can show you some pictures.
No, I was going to log in until 8, and now it's 8.
Okay.
Okay. It was interesting talking to you guys.
That was nice hearing your bullshit degree. I hope they have refunds there.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention.
What's your degree?
Orbis paradox. Yeah, no, you are actually correct. The idea that it's meant to be infinite. I had forgotten that, so I'm just holding my hands up and admitting that I got that wrong. I still think you're wrong about everything else, but I was wrong about Orbis paradox.
All right, thank you.
Just add something.
Okay.
If you ever get the time, Astrokiwi, could you come back and use your scientific expertise to tell us why the laser tests are wrong, so we could do them correctly the next time?
Well, I mean, you can. I mean, Yeah, I mean. Yeah, the truth of that kind of thing is that'll come down to the details of like the setup, I guess. I do actually need to go right now though.
Take it easy, man. Take it easy, man. You know, I think you'd benefit from looking up causality versus correlation and understanding how that actually fits into science itself. Because you seem to have some confusion there, but you know, thanks for taking the time and God bless.
We hope to have you back. Have a good time. Bye-bye. Be great.
Later, man.
Yes, thanks for being here.
I wonder what the details were that he was going to complain about. I bet one of them was going to be that the laser isn't level.
Yeah, I was an astrophysicist.
He could not.
Yeah, he claimed to be a PhD in astrophysics. I mean.
Oh, I can. I mean, I can believe it. We've had him in here before.
Right?
That's almost like worse than being a troll. It's like if you identify as an astrophysicist.
Is it what's her name? Dr. Becky? Who's the really retarded lady who says she's a rock or something? I'm a rock.
Michelle Fallow.
Michelle Fallow, yeah. I mean, you see how like just apishly caveman they are, right? Like they're the dumbest creatures on Earth. Yeah. So it's like, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
no, and I think that the funniest thing is how these quote unquote.
So I've been trying to get him for a while, Skygazer.
Hold on, let Crypto talk.
Yeah. To be fair to him, like the one thing that I always get alleged PhDs on is what PhD actually means. Often when they're fake PhDs, they don't know what PhD.
Post-hole digger.
Sorry.
Post-hole digger.
Yeah, exactly. So to be fair, he did know what it meant. Maybe he was. I accused him of being a fake. He convinced me that he probably wasn't a fake. So I'm happy to
there you go.
say that he probably was legit.
Useless degree.
Yeah, he should wipe.
Yeah, Skygazer, go ahead, please. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, because they have the same line of argumentation as like literal trolls who just come into troll, but they actually believe it. So it's worse. You know,
like
and
going
it's
into an
hilarious.
engineering forum with troll physics, but they're for real.
Yeah, and it's crazy how these quote unquote, they think of themselves as scientists, but then they'll acknowledge things like, no, correlation is that's like a valid element to like explain things scientifically. It's like, dude, you're so far off. They don't even know. I don't know how we even got to this place where people respect.
If you have a PhD, actually, that means you're not a doctor.
I don't know. I'm starting to think that like the whole astrophysics, like the guy who invented the astrophysics was like that was the troll. So now we're just dealing with like low-level trolls, you know.
They're like professional bedtime storytellers. You just make up a nice story.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny that like real degrees aren't necessarily PhDs? You know, what's PhD is doctorate of philosophy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like MD is not a doctor of philosophy, is it? But it's a doctor. So they get their medical doctorate.
Yeah, like a medical doctor, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but everyone else, like in the sciences and stuff, because they're not having to pin anything down and it's kind of like idea-driven, the easiest thing to give everyone else in academia is a PhD. Because none of it's hard
Right,
science.
and the whole thing about PhDs is that at that point, like, because the PhD path is that, you know, you have to get like, whatchamacallit, a stipend or whatever it is. Like, you literally have to be paid, like your salary is dependent on the academic institute.
Well,
so
let's see. It's
they now define the rules because you're like dependent on their salary.
A PhD is essentially a gift, like an honorarium, ultimately. When astrophysicist gets a PhD, what's it really mean? What's it really mean? It's an honorarium. It's not a real degree. It's not a real science. It doesn't mean anything. It's like getting a doctorate in Game Boy.
Professional hypocrite doctorate.
They should be like a Star Wars script writer.
You know what was interesting? He came.
Well, that's literally what they do. They're like consultant for the big Hollywood sci-fi movie.
One second, bro. Yeah, Meme, he came at us with the electronics wouldn't work if it wasn't a globe argument. And I was almost like,
Wait,
you're making this argument. What? Don't you have better arguments? You know, I was kind of thrown back by it a little bit.
I wanted to say that he's using a lot of electronic technology and he has no idea how they function or they work. I bet he didn't know about electricity. They don't know these things.
I still like my post-hole digger because that's the job you'll need to, that's what you're qualified to do is dig post holes.
I don't know. I think that's kind of trashing the post-hole diggers there.
Yeah, you might be right.
I think they're bringing more value than astrophysicists, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, post-hole diggers taking some shrapnel, taking a beating.
They can greet each other and go, "What's up, my digger?"
What's up, my digger? Nice one.
And and then you get the guys that put in like black post lamps or whatever, and they say digger is our word, but you can say digger.
I like it. Here, visual representation of a doctorate in astrophysics. Except this PhD has actual measurements on it.
Yeah, it literally didn't matter what experiment or proof we showed him because we did it. or flat earthers did it, it must be wrong. So with his logic, he can just unwave dismiss everything. It was kind of
because he
frustrating.
thinks that
it's the church.
The hypothesis, like the modeling, is somehow the truth. So then you can defend anything.
You can't question the church. You can argue within the framework the church has provided, but you can't deviate outside that framework, and that's what citizen scientists do. They argue outside that framework, which makes them heretics. Can't listen to them.
Yeah. The funny thing, he was very well spoken, and he was. I'm sure he was expecting to encounter some sort of fools, babbling fools, when he came here. But when he started talking with us, and he was put all these problems, the scientific method, definitions, and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure he tricked quite a few 8th graders.
Yeah, he was shocked.
Facebook groups in his day. He's a journeyman LARPer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my argument, the IV was for the sky, and he said, "Oh, science doesn't really work like that."
Oh, huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh,
I was
when you said
surprised.
IV, I told him that.
What's your independent variable? The sky.
Yeah, to translate it for him.
Right.
Your independent variable's the sky. It's loco.
I was like, he was like, "Oh yeah, science doesn't really work like that," and I was like, "You don't want to haggle."
Don't work like.
It's like, I wonder what it's like at one of those astrophysics lectures. Maybe I should look one up. You could probably find them on YouTube. Like, it's probably all just like, the universe is what you want it to be. You know? It's just like pure silliness. I mean, there's nothing real about it. Like, what even is it based on?
It's
like
political jockeying to see who can get the best grants. That's all it is. That's what those are. That's all they do with each other. Neil deGrasse Tyson is one of the best at it. He set himself up as a science communicator. He created this council of astrophysicists to declassify Pluto as a planet for no reason.
Oh Jesus!
Just
so that's where that comes from.
Yeah, and that's where he got his name. Was that he just made it up? He just decided to declassify it, and that's what they do. It's literally a scam. It is literally just a big fat.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but it's like the people who are in the MLM trying to get others, to buy their product and stuff. They don't understand what the MLM is for. It's not the product that you're selling. It's the people that you're getting under you that's making you money. And so you'll have a lot of these dupes. You have a lot of these just run-of-the-mill PhDs in astrophysics, who think it's real, who think they're doing something, and they're doing nothing. It's all a big giant scam.
Well, because I saw that one. There's that one dude, on YouTube that's like hyper promoted now. It's the Lex Friedman podcast. You've probably seen it. And he had, because this was like autoplay on YouTube, and he had on some
Friedman. What kind of a name is Friedman? That doesn't sound very Protestant to me.
Excuse me 1 second. I'm sorry to interrupt, guys. I got a friend that's in the check-in. If somebody can jump up and check us in really quick. Sorry to interrupt your conversation.
Okay.
Infernal is the guy I want to check in.
No problem.
Sure. I can't go off, but.
Yeah, so on this Lex Friedman podcast,
He sounds like he might have had some sisters and maybe a few cousins who started the transsexual movement. Maybe they started the feminist movement. Do you think maybe they're in the same family?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's just organically grown to 2-3 million views per episode. This is all organic. There's no nepotism involved. But yeah, he had on this guy, this kind of literally like the nerdiest astrophysicist I've ever seen. And it I felt bad because it felt like this guy genuinely believed it. Like he was talking about like black holes and supernovas and all this kind of stuff. And then you have this. Yeah, and then you have this Lex Friedman guy. He's telling me, it's like he knows because he's sitting there. Like you have this guy. He's talking about this astrophysicist, this goyim, just sitting there. Oh yeah, we can go to Mars and we can go to Venus and build like an interplanetary species. And then you have Lex Friedman literally telling him to his face. He's like, oh yeah, do you know that if you go there, you're gonna have to eat bugs. Like you have to have bug colonies. That's how you get your protein. Because he knows it's bullshit.
Oh, if you go into space,
so he's just sitting there ridiculing.
But it's all right because they're kosher.
Right, but it's it's kind of sad, like looking at these low-level people who are just nerds and they just it's like a fantasy world for them.
It's not sad. It's not sad.
I mean, it's sad that these guys, the only black hole they'll ever get to see is on a computer screen.
Yeah. And that's the only hole they'll ever see.
Well, that was.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they ever talk about brown hole?
I don't know.
Yeah, because there was that political narrative shift of like they started talking about the black community. Suddenly, like a couple of years ago, they started talking about the brown community. You should bring that to astrophysics.
Excuse me, they're people of color now, sir.
Yeah, it's like holes of color.
Not the insulting colored people. People of color. Get it right.
Right, and so therefore we have to shift the term black hole to holes of color.
That sounds like
but the problem is that it's changed again now. It's BIPOC now, so it's what does BIPOC mean? Something ridiculous. Black, indigenous, and people of color. So they've made sure that, or maybe brown, indigenous, and people of color. They've like mentioned everyone. It's like a term so inclusive it includes everyone.
What if the black hole identifies as white?
What about a person who's mostly English but who looks like a Spaniard? Do I get in there? Am I BIPOC?
I mean, are you indigenous to somewhere?
I'm indigenous to Georgia.
Then you are BIPOC.
Sure, I'm indigenous.
I think you're Latinx at that point. You're Spanish.
What if it wanted to be an Argyle black hole or an Argyle hole?
Chinese. Look, Chinese is far too general. We need to spell it CHINX, and that's what we're gonna call them from now on.
I see what you did there.
X.
So,
say it out loud.
Are we still allowed to play pool, seeing as that we hit colored balls with a white ball?
That's just a representation of the oppression, so it's okay.
My feelings are hurt now.
We're at a point where you could literally shut down all of academia and everyone would get smarter.
Fact.
Yeah, the post-hole diggers are leaving the server en masse, upset. I'm tired of getting lumped in at these fucking assholes.
Dude, I'm so glad I didn't fall into that trap. I studied like history and philosophy for a couple of years in university, and it was.
I studied the blade.
Rubbed me the wrong way. Rubbed me the wrong way, man.
Is that your sexual assault story from college? They rubbed you the wrong way?
Yeah. Literally, the professor rubbed me the wrong way.
I hope you didn't pay that professor for that education.
I guess he thought the apple you left his desk was meant to mean something else.
I don't know how many like university people. I think that's more of a primary school thing, no? But hey, isn't that like an interesting, weird parallel to the story in Genesis? Where now you have the children offering the apple to the teacher. Like, what's that about?
Where in Genesis does it say that it was an apple?
Oh, well, that's true. I mean, I guess it's just a mainstream, like, referred to. It's just a fruit, right? Right? It's not specifically stating it's an apple, but seems like all of mainstream kind of culture refers to it as an apple, right?
I love look on dude's face in that picture I posted. The Chinaman's face.
Who?
Here, I'm going to post one for you, Crypto. You'll be maybe one of only one or two other people who will get it.
Okay. I already know it's going to be offensive.
It's not. It's too subtle to be offensive.
All right, let's have a look then. Oh, I see. Right. Jim Jam, I find that highly offensive.
If it helps, I'm not offended anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that meme kind of came and went very quickly, didn't it?
Yeah. I got a phone call right when I posted it and told you about it.
All right.
That's one of him just going, it's also tiresome, is one of my favorites.
Yeah. Well, there was like a remix of an old 60s song that went with that meme as well. I don't know if you heard it. I can't remember what it was called. It was just talking about being tired of modern life and stuff. Like how, well, maybe more the media specifically, like how the media just constantly lies.
Hey guys, since there is a kind of quiet in here, I just checked in J Mike's friend Infernal. He seems like a decent glober. If you guys want to talk to him.
Yeah, what's good?
Infernal?
What's good, mate?
Yeah.
Is this from World of Warcraft?
No, I just made it up when I was like 15 or some shit.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So you're not a massive green demon?
I wouldn't say so.
Just checking.
Okay.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. I think so.
But isn't that what a green demon would say?
Oh, that's a good point.
You know, was it the Infernal Blades? Those were pretty based.
No, I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's from World of Warcraft. Like you would get into Burning Crusade.
I never played WoW. I played
Yeah, sure.
I spent my childhood playing Minecraft, bro.
Yikes!
Yeah.
The English guy.
My condolences.
The English guy's just asking because he's used to being suspicious of the Queen.
Oh no.
Yeah.
The Queen? Wait, what is she?
Yeah, she's a lizard. Didn't you know that? That's
What?
why she's called Lizzie.
It makes sense. Yeah, she's pretty old too. She just lasts so long. Like, how the fuck is she still alive?
How do you know how long she lasts?
I've been with her.
Infernal, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Does a cup of tea cause the sun to rise, or does the sun rising cause cups of tea?
Fuck is that? What kind of question is that? What do you mean?
Doesn't make any sense, does it?
Right.
Well, you know more about science than a PhD. Congratulations.
Right.
So we just had a PhD astrophysicist say to me that correlation is a part of science. So we were talking about how things can correlate and not be scientific. One wouldn't cause the other. And so I asked him, if I make a cup of tea every morning after the sun has risen, then that they correlate, but one doesn't cause the other, and he wouldn't admit that that was the case. So it's good that you do.
Isn't correlation a part of statistics, not science?
That's exactly what I said to him, like almost word for word.
Right. A lot of people forget there's more than one way to figure out truth. It's just there's empirical truth, there's mathematical truths, and there's philosophical truths. But not all of them are science.
So, Infernal, you seem like you're a good-natured lad, actually. Why do you think the Earth's a globe?
I mean, I can if I literally have done a test that you can take two same heighted objects and put them at a certain distance from each other. I would say maybe like 200 miles in the same time zone area, so the length of the object is the same.